Going to university can be a very tricky process. For any of you who have decided to go to university yourselves, you know it takes a lot of time and effort. And for young people who are looking to get into university, but also are currently being musicians and using their talents as musicians, sometimes it can be hard to know how to plan for that. And in our podcast episode today that I had with Cheyna, she and I discussed about some of the things that you can consider to do that. But first of all, we talked about her story and how she started to become a musician, and then we transitioned into the story behind Ups and Downs, which is one of her latest tracks. Stick around to the end to find out more about some of those tips for those of you who are looking to go into university. If not, then just stay around and enjoy the conversation. Now on for today's episode with Cheyna. Hey everyone, my name is Khan. I am the host of the Adventist Music Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Today I am joined with Cheyna, and so she's going to be sharing her song story with us today of the song Ups and Downs. And I'm really excited about that story. Cheyna, welcome on the podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So let's just jump right into it. Take us back to a moment that you felt inspired to be a musician, and take us through that time where you first discovered that music was your passion.
Wow. Well, I've been doing music my whole life. My mom would have us sing, like in church and different things like that, do different auditions, and my family would sing together. But when music really became something that I wanted to do, I was more so like in my teenage years. I would say around 14, 15. I was like, I really want to do music. Now, it looked kind of more of the direction of the secular side of things, where I wanted to be on TV and do all these different things. But when I turned 17 or 18, that's when I really took a change or a turn in my life to want to dedicate my gifts 100% to God and doing music ministry. The short version, I guess, of the super, super long story is that after a period of time, I started, I went to a Bible college, all these different places, and I was kind of self-conscious about my voice because I tend to sing loud. I am more of a belter. I can sing light and soft as well. But I started feeling really subconscious, and I was encouraged when I went to this Bible college to use my voice as God gave it to me, and use it as a tool, to emphasize points that, God may want someone to hear in a song, or emphasize a point that really needs to drive home a message in a song. And so that was in 2016, and in 2023, I quit working a W-2 job that I had in order to pursue music ministry full time. And so here I am 3 years into it doing music ministry.
So that's a big picture overview. Thank you so much for sharing that, because it helps us to get a bit of an idea of where you're at now. But I'd like to go back in time with you and to discover a bit more about what was that original thing that led you to even desire to become a musician. Was there anybody in your life that influenced you to be a musician?
Well, I would have to say, I guess my parents. My mom was a rapper in her past life, I guess you can say. She was a rapper, and my dad was a DJ. So they kind of had music and rhythm and whatever else flowing in their blood. I mean, I guess I kind of realized when I would practice and whatnot with my family, when we were working on arrangements and different things, I was the one that would step up and, take hold on what the arrangements would be, and, take hold on maybe we should do this chord or, just different things. So I would basically take hold on making the arrangements and, making sure we practiced and making sure our harmonies were tight and everything. And I just had this extra drive to want to do more with music. Like, my family's musical and everything, but I just realized there was something with me where I was like, no, this is it's a part of me. This is something I'm going to take on, and it's going to stick with me for the rest of my life.
So at what point did you decide that you would take it on for the rest of your life?
Oh, man. I guess it's hard to pinpoint the exact moment, but I would say it would have been after I went to Bible college. There was a lot of talk about your calling and knowing God's will for your life. And when I looked at some of the different qualifiers, where it's look at some of the natural gifts God has given you, look at his divine providence in your life, look at, the circumstances around you and things that you may be passionate about. I realized that music was kind of the answer for all of those things, where I'm like, there's a lot of things I could do, but what is it that I should do? What is it that God really made me for? And it always pointed back to music.
That's really cool. So you went to Bible college. That's where you had the realization that, hey, I have this gift, right? And maybe it's probably the best gift that I can use right now in the service of the Lord.
Hmm.
And so you decided to dedicate your life to music there. If you don't mind me asking, what led you to go to Bible school in that college in the first place?
In 2015, I was somewhere and I was doing ministry, but it ended up turning into like a really bad environment, I guess you can say. I ended up becoming really depressed. And so I took a step back from ministry and all these different things. And I felt the Holy Spirit impressing upon me, like, Cheyna, like God made you to do things, like to work for him and to do things for him. So you need to get out of this space that you're in right now and just get active again. And so I went and I was living in New York at the time, or Tennessee at the time. And then I flew out to California for the first time and went to do a Glow Mission trip. We did a Glow Mission trip in San Francisco at the Super Bowl, handed out 1 million Glow tracks all over San Francisco. And I met all these incredible people that went to a Bible college called Souls West. And
Hmm.
they told me about the school, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. This is interesting. And so after I did that, there was just like a snowball effect of more ministry opportunities and events where I could just, keep doing things for God. And I canvassed for a summer. We did our 10-week canvassing program. They recruited me to go to this Bible college. I said no. I said no, and then I said yes, and then I said no, and I just couldn't make a decision. And 2 weeks into the school year, starting there, I actually felt an overwhelming like push of like, Cheyna, you need to go. So I answered the call. They accepted me. They said it's 2 weeks late, but that's okay. We're gonna bring you in anyway, and they let me go. So yeah,
Hmm.
2016, I went there, and it was an experience that I would say has changed my life in ways for the better, in ways that I could not
Right.
imagine if I didn't go.
So I want to come back to this with you because I think that there's a lot of young people who may be listening to this podcast right now, who are even maybe in the same position that you were back in that point as well, and are considering to go to college and things like that, and which one to go to and things. And so I'd like to come back to that with you maybe a bit later on. But where can people listen to your music, Shayna?
Oh, I am on most platforms. You can hear my music on YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify, on Instagram or Facebook or Amazon Music. It's literally like everywhere. But my main go-to places are Spotify, YouTube, and Apple.
And tell us a bit about what you've released so far on those platforms.
So I was raising money for a mission trip back in 2017. And one of those albums, I decided to just record like 7 quick songs. It's an album called Finally Free. I was selling CDs, for those of us that know what a CD is. I was selling CDs.
You're dating this
I know,
podcast
right?
now.
Oh man, but they just went. Like a bunch of people wanted the CDs, and they loved it, and even to this day people still listen to that album. I just made it to raise money for a mission trip. I was even going door to door with it. I was like, "Hey, I made this. You want to buy it?" And they're like, "Sure." Raised the money, we got to go. After that, I continued to do more music, and then in 2020 during the pandemic, I released an album called Increase My Faith, and that was a result of the experiences that I had when I was doing door to door work and Bible work and things like that. There's this quote that says that divine power plus human effort equals true success. And when I didn't feel successful in the way that I thought success was, I was like, well, God's not the problem, so it has to be me. And I read this book. I think it was called like Faith and Works or something like that. Not Ellen White's writings, but it was by a
Is it like
pioneer.
Wagner?
Yes,
Wagner or
Wagner.
Jones?
Yes, it was
Right.
Wagner. And I read the very beginning, and it just talked about how we need to allow God to increase our faith, and we can't try and live on a faith based off of things that we've seen, because we see how in the Bible it already says faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And I was like, man, I'm here expecting God to do certain things that I've already seen and know can happen, but I'm not letting him work to be able to do a new thing in my life. And also showed me that success is not what I thought it was. Success is the fact that I went out there to plant a seed in the hearts of these different individuals, whether they got a book or not, whether they accepted a prayer or a Bible study or not. It was me going out there saying, Lord, like, friend, get to know who Jesus is, please. It's an opportunity they had, and that's like the highest calling you can have. So I wrote that album off of those experiences, and in prayer and asking God to help increase my faith and to help anyone else to, be able to even process those emotions through song of how God can increase our faith and get us through, these moments.
So your albums they're up right now for people to listen to. So make sure you guys go and check that out. We will be also sharing this in the description below as well. So if you would like to have a listen to her music right now, or even after the podcast, even better, like go have a look at the at her Spotify and YouTube, and make sure to share it with your friends too.
Mm.
Well, in the next part of this episode, Shayna, let's talk a bit about your song Ups and Downs. So
God is greater than my ups and downs. The season won't last forever. He's coming with the golden crown.
can you tell us a bit about like when you released this song? What was going on in your life when you wrote it?
It's so funny
Mhm.
because that song, I just released it. I released it, I think it was about a month ago, if even that. The song I wrote in the process or in the moment of going through like a very low moment in my life. There was just like, I don't know if anyone can relate, but I'm sure everyone can relate. But I was going through a period of time where there was like one bad thing that was happening and you're praying about it, right? But then while you're praying about that, another bad thing happens and another bad thing and another bad thing. And it just kept like stacking on top of each other. And I got to a point where I was just like, Lord, like you said you won't give me more than I can handle, but I can't take this right now. Like, help me. And the way I was feeling, after talking about my emotions, I was feeling I was sad. I was doubtful. I was like, Lord, like, do you even still love me? Like, all these different things. And God just like spoke to me where he was like, Shayna, it's really easy to be happy and trust in God and know he's there when the good things are happening. But when it comes to the bad things, it's easy to go into like a rut of doubt and like, oh no, what about this? When honestly, in those down moments too, we should be able to still trust and praise God even more in those moments. Cause it's like, wow, Lord, like this low point I'm in right now, like you're building some kind of testimony. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna trust you and you're gonna help me through this. And so ups and downs, the chorus, right? God is greater than my ups and downs. It's just like he's bigger than all of that. He's bigger than the emotions that come with it. He's bigger than the circumstances that look like they're, not going to go too well, or you just have no idea what's going to happen. But the reminder that he is greater than those things is a reminder for me to trust in him and to leave it all in his hands and just feel like, why waste, some brain cells on stressing out on a bad situation that I know God's going to turn out for his good because that's what he said he was going to do.
Yeah, I agree. It's so easy to want to control things in life that you end up taking the position of God instead of letting him lead in our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you take us back to the message that you put in that song? Have you experienced that recently, the ups and downs?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Tell us about it.
So for me, I am a missionary. I'm a music missionary. And a lot of times what comes with the term of being a musician and in being a missionary is being broke. And so unfortunately, it's like when you don't have a lot of money or anything, right? Then it's kind of a domino effect to other things in your life. So it's like you don't have a lot of money, okay, maybe you don't know like where your next meal might be coming from, or you don't have a lot of money, maybe you don't have stability in like housing and things like that. And like for me, ever since I entered into ministry 2016 to now, I have been living in other people's homes. I have been traveling, living in, staying in churches, sleeping on the floors and stuff. Not to say it's the worst thing, but it's not something I believe is sustainable for like a long term, kind of thing. And so that was happening. Found out some other news about like my health. There's some other things with that going on with autoimmune things, and that's a whole thing. Um, Opportunities that you thought you had or things that normally would have been lined up, they're all just like dropping like flies. Everything's just changing. And when you think you have the little bit of stability there, then it all just kind of falls beneath your feet. That's what I was or had been going through recently, where I'm just like, oh man, Lord, like, what next? Like, all I had was this and this, and now that's gone too. So where's my stability coming from? What's going to happen? And so then like in that song, I'm a worship leader. I write music, right? I sing, I play, I organize music for conferences, things like that. And all of it is an effort of praise, and acknowledging God, adoring God. But it's like, how do you do that when you're kind of mad at God, right? You're like, it's like, hello, Lord, I'm here. I'm doing so much for you. Like, what about me? And
Yeah.
I used to think that, if you're mad at God or upset or frustrated with God, it's like, oh, I'm not a good Christian, or I'm not, I'm in a really bad place in my life kind of thing. But God has shown me it's like, it's better to be mad at him than to be dismissive to him, or to be, completely like, God, whatever, and just leave him, and just go do your own thing and trust in yourself. I'm just like, Lord, this is how I'm feeling. I know you're going to bring me through this, but this is how I feel right now. Just help me to be really, really honest with him. But honestly, it's just kind of been like it's a reminder that even in those low moments, I can still praise God. So like the first verse of that song is like, it's so easy to praise when everything's going right, but it's hard to praise when you're trying to sort through the night, not a star to light the way. Um, and in that, for me, my little sign of hope from God is when I see stars at night. Every star is like a glimpse of hope for me. So in that line, it was just kind of like, Lord, I don't even see the stars right now. Like it's I find it hard to be okay, but a soothing voice, says it's gonna be all right. So it's just embracing the reality of how I'm feeling, but then also going back to what the true reality is in God, and knowing that he is there for me despite how I feel.
Tell us more about that.
Man, well, let's
Have,
see.
have you
Mhm.
have you found that easy to do? Because
Um,
it sounds really nice.
I can tell you this, like anything that's new to you or not really something that you feel like doing, it's hard to do at first. It's much easier to just kind of give into your thoughts, or just give into like, oh, what, just forget it. I'm just going to sort it out on my own. I'm just going to figure it out because I know I'm there for me, I have me on my side, kind of thing. But no, it has to be, I'd say it gets easier. The more you tell yourself, and the more you understand, the more you read and the more you study and look at these examples in the Bible of individuals that also went through stuff, went through a lot of stuff, but seeing how God led them through it, it's helped me to be way more at peace, to be happier, to just kind of accept what I'm going through right now, but also help me to keep my mind and my heart and my hope and everything focused on what is going to come, because I'm just like, Lord, like it really sucks right now, but I know that I'm going to look back at this present moment, and I'm just going to be like, Lord, what was I stressing about? What was wrong? Like
Yeah.
there was nothing wrong. Like, yeah, it was wrong in the moment, but now I really see how you were using that moment to help me. Because now, even now, as I look, I've been studying Second Samuel, First and Second Samuel, really looking at David's life because he's a musician, and I'm like, let me study his life a little deeper. Like, there's something more behind this boy that killed a giant, And of course, I know more of his story, but I was really just putting myself in his shoes and looking at, God's like, hey, I've anointed you, you're gonna be king, all these different things. And all the things that happened in between, the multiple times he was hunted by Saul, the multiple times he had to hide for his life, where he had no stability, where he's sleeping in the forest, where he tried to seek refuge in the Philistines out of his own plans. And he's like, well, I'm gonna save myself. And then ended up in like acting like a madman to get out of that situation that he put himself in. And I'm like, Lord, this is crazy. Like I can relate with some of these things like that David is going through. No, I'm not being hunted for my life, praise the Lord. But I am going through a struggle and a trial where I'm like, Lord, like where are you? But look at how you've led David. Look at how you're still with David. And if you're with David, you're definitely with me too. So yeah.
I really like that example that you brought out of David, because I think it's the perfect example of someone who was, one, very raw and honest with God and told him exactly how he felt, but at the same time lent in on God, and he didn't, like what you were saying, kind of like draw back and walk away from him
Yeah.
at the time of his despair and challenges and trials.
Hmm.
And so a great lesson for our listeners today as well. Like, guys, like let's cling to Jesus, even when we are feeling like we are not worthy of his love. It's the perfect time for us. I've realized now more than ever that like it's our unworthiness that gives us merit with God. The
Hmm.
more we realize just how unworthy we are, the more we can claim the mercies and the graces of the Lord. So yeah,
That's right.
what is the message? What kind of feeling do you want to leave our listeners with from this song?
I would want them to feel a sense of hope, a sense of recognizing that the current moment they're in right now is just a moment. And the big span of what we could look at the big span of eternity, we can even just look at our lifetime. The moment we're going through is just a moment, and God has such a greater plan for us if we just hold on, if we don't leave him. And one thing I've learned is that if I try to fix things myself or try to do things myself or try to bring myself up out of my own downs, I usually make it worse. And so when you listen to the song, I just hope that it helps to bring people back to recognizing that God is truly greater than all the ups and the downs. He is in control. He's got this. And if we literally leave it in his hands, it might not feel good all the time, but we will get to a moment where we're just going to have joy. It's going to be so much joy, true, divine, and deep joy.
Well said. So I hope that you guys have been inspired by Cheyna's story. I personally have been. And this song is so deep, right? I mean, there's so many and so much encouragement that we can get from this song. And I like to swing back now to something that we had originally discussed about Cheyna in the first part of this podcast, which was about, going to a college as a young person, deciding, oh, what should I do and stuff like that. So I just want you to imagine, like, if you were a young person today, like one of our listeners, and you're considering to go to a college, what pathway would you suggest that they take as they consider going to college?
Yeah, for sure. What I would say is that it's really good to make sure you have like your tent making skill, especially because if you're trying to do music ministry or you're, trying to do music. I mentioned it earlier. A lot of times people say like it doesn't pay the bills, until it does kind of thing. And so I would say, especially in the beginning stages of trying to enter that kind of sphere, do something that you love or even something that might help you in that process. For me, I also do video editing. I do social media for some ministries. I have a degree in physical education and just different things like that. It helps me to be able to do certain things when someone's like, we don't really care for music. Everyone cares for music. They just don't know it yet. But I think having that tent making skill is really, really good. And in that, don't let it be something that consumes your passion or your dream in doing that music if you think that's what God has called you to do as well. When you do it, like look for opportunities to volunteer, maybe like a local church or local basketball games. If you want to sing the national anthem, I've done that. And it just helps you to get plugged in with the community. It helps you to start forming different connections. And eventually it starts turning into more opportunities that do become more lucrative or in ways where people want to offer you money, because they're like, wow, this is incredible. Like you're actually a professional, you know what you're doing. So you could do something else. You could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, you could be whatever you want to be in the world. But I would just say, like, do it, but never let go of that gift or that passion that you have to do music.
Can you tell me more about how they could get involved in music ministry?
Yeah. Depending on the college you go to, look for opportunities. One, usually at a lot of Adventist colleges, they'll have like a
Same,
worship
yeah,
segment,
stuff.
whether they have like a Vespers or if they have like a morning worship before their classes. And they're always looking for music. They're looking for people that are willing to use their gifts and their talents. And so I would say step into those spaces and be willing to share, be willing to cooperate and collaborate with other musicians as well, because that helps to also build your network. When you need a pianist or you need a guitarist or you need a drummer or you need whatever it is that you need, it's like you're building connections, and every single person knows people, right? And so if you connect yourself with more people in the same field that you want to be connected with, then it helps you to grow that sphere and more opportunities, grow.
Would you share with us like what your plans are for the next 5 or 6 years?
Oh yeah, for sure. So one thing I'm looking to do is I'm looking forward to doing a tour. I've had the opportunity to travel across America and across the world, singing for like different series and concerts and things like that. And so there's a lot of churches that want me to come back to do concerts. So we're looking to do maybe start with like a West Coast tour and then eventually grow to getting into the East Coast again, and Central Coast, the Midwest, and all those different areas. I'm also working on recording a lot more songs. I have a lot of songs written, and I just want them to be a higher quality of production than things that I've done before. So I'm working on doing that. And then I am also working on growing my voice and violin lessons uh, space. And so in the week, when I'm not
Ah.
doing what I do on the weekend, I actually give voice lessons and violin lessons. And, just to help people to be able to feel more confident in what they're doing. Whether it's like, I want to be more of a professional singer, or they're like, I just want to, know how I can contribute to when the church is singing in the congregation. I just want to know what I can do, to be better and make everything flow better and help their church members. So, um, yeah, lots of different things. I'm very, very versatile, I guess, in the creative spaces. But those are just a couple of the things that I have planned.
And how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, they can visit my website. It's my first and last name, ShaynaAsh.com. They can message me on Instagram or on Facebook or send me an email, ShaynaAsh@gmail.com. Very simple, very easy to remember. But yeah, they can send me a message and me or one of my representatives, I guess, would respond.
Yeah. And before I let you go, Shayna, could you give us like one piece of advice that you would give to a new musician?
Ooh, one thing I would say is don't give up. I know that it can be hard sometimes being a musician and, trying to live life, I guess you can say, but take every opportunity, all your experiences, everything that you go through, and use it in a creative way. Your music is a way that you communicate with people, and it can reach people on deeper levels than you can ever imagine if you, trust God, have Him drive the message that you want to share. And yeah, and just make beautiful, beautiful music for people to listen to.
Is there any other questions that you wish that I had asked you?
Um, let's see. I mean, there's one of my big things is I guess it's not really a message directly for musicians, but it's just kind of like a message for those that want musicians in their spaces and want like good music. It's just kind of about like what do you call it? Like recognizing the value and just how powerful music really is, like in their spaces, and how it's so important to take care of your musicians, like they did in the Bible, and to recognize them as more than just, you know, another part of the program. Like they're ministering as well.
Hmm. Tell me more about that.
Oh yeah, sure. So, um, I mean, you can see like in the book of Nehemiah, when they were like rebuilding the temple and things like that. Um, there were people put in charge that were supposed to be paying the musicians and other people that were working on the building from the tithes and offering. And I believe it was Nehemiah when he left and left it in their care to take care of that stuff.
Hmm.
But when he left, they weren't doing that, and he came back, and they got in trouble, and they all got fired. And he was like, "What do you like? You were supposed to compensate them. What's going on?"
Hmm.
And so they went back, they replaced the whole board, and then they paid the different people what they were supposed to be paid from the tithes and offering. Um, and then all in the Bible, it has different examples of musicians and how it'll say like the musicians that were there for the temple were there for like that was their only job. Like they didn't need any other job, or the church provided housing for them so that, they had somewhere to live, and as they worshiped day and night, like that was something they did. Um, and I think a lot of times that kind of goes unseen. And it could be because a lot of times there's so many different people that are gifted and talented, um, but they're willing to just kind of do it. They're just like, yeah, sure, sure, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do that. Which is fine. It's not to say that anyone that ever sings always should always, you know, be compensated. But especially for those that have dedicated their life, like myself and other individuals, to doing music ministry, I think that there should be a space where that they could be compensated and be able to do something like that full time, because it's more than just get up on a stage and play the piano or get up on a stage and sing, but there's hours of practice and hours of, uh, research and just making sure the message is in alignment with the other message, like the sermon that might be going out there. Making sure that your voice is in a good condition, and you have to have the right sleeping, atmosphere and the right room to be like there's a lot of different things that no one really knows goes into singing and playing, and just making sure that your body is in a good place so that you can minister. with that to create. But music is powerful. It's the sound of math, as I like to say. And math is a great
Mm.
descriptor and language to explain, God and his creative power. But that's a whole other message, whole other
That sounds
topic
really
or
deep.
sermon.
I
But
think I think you just went like 100% deep on me right now. That's
oh
that
man,
is so.
there's
Well, you just blew my mind. Oh
oh
man.
man.
Okay, no, but in all in serious now, I guess that's kind of like why I set up this podcast actually was because I felt like there wasn't much uh conversations going around about how musicians can be sorted out. I mean, like they can be recompensed for their work because I understand it takes a large amount of investment to produce an album,
Yes.
to do not just produce an album, but then to promote the album, to market the album, and make it so that that music can actually go out there to the people who need to hear it. So,
Hmm.
um, the work that goes on and all that, it requires a tribe to make it happen. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And so definitely supporting musicians is what we are trying to achieve through this podcast. And if you guys have any other ideas about how musicians can be supported, and if you have any ideas or if anyone is coming up with any other solutions,
Hmm.
do please let me know. I would love to talk with you about it, and we can explore some more on this podcast or just on a chat. You know, just give me a DM. I'd love to talk with you some more about it.
Hmm.
So so yeah, I think that yeah, this has been a really fun conversation, Shayna.
I agree.
Um, I think I've exhausted a lot of things with you already, and we have covered a lot of ground in this episode, and it's been really good to get to know you some more.
Yes, likewise, likewise.
Yeah.
The famous con. Finally got to touch
Ta-da!
bases.
The con has appeared.
Oh man,
Awesome.
that's great.
All right, cool. We'll leave it there for now. Thanks a lot, Shayna, for coming on.
Of course. Glad I could join.
Yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next episode of Adventist Music.